Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Let's start with the A code of our core Java series. So, in our previous video, we learned about the operators in Java. So, now let's move to the next topic, that is control structures. So, what are control structures? There are two types of control structures mainly available in Java. First are loops. Loops tell us how to repeat a task, how to repeat a certain task certain times. Next are our conditional statements. So conditional statements help us make decisions in code. So these are our two types of control structures. So first we will learn about loops. So what are loops? So as you can see, loops are like repeating yourself in a conversation. If you need to do something multiple times, loops makes this easy. So loops provide us certain conditions, initialization conditions, and iteration numbers that we will study. So it helps us to avoid repeating code, make our program more efficient, and help us save our time and effort. As it saves you the time to write code more times. You can do a certain task that you have to repeat certain times by using a single loop. So let's study about different types of loops available in Java. So first we have a for loop. So for loop is used when you know how many times you want to repeat. So this is a type of loop which is used when we know that we have to execute a certain code certain times. So in that case, we use a for loop. So as you can see, the structure of for loop. So we have a for block, then we have parentheses, then we have to specify one initialization, then condition, and then the update parameter. How many, on which parameter we have to update our value. So let's see a practical example of a for loop. So let's try to execute something a number of times. So let's assume I want to print hello world 10 times. So one case is that I can write my S out statement, that is system out or print hello statement 10 times. Then obviously my hello world will be printed. But this is so much work. So how can I do that in a single loop or single statement or in less lines of code? So that we can do using for loop. So now let's execute or print hello world 10 times. Okay. So for that, we will be writing the code. So first we will be initializing a variable as we saw in the structure of the for loop. So let's take a variable in type and then I'm initializing it to 0. So now my loop will start from 0. Now I will be giving a condition for which it will run, up to which condition the loop will run. So let's give the condition 10. And now let's get the updation condition. So I am updating the value of I variable one time. That's why I specify I plus as we learned about this operator in our previous video. What is this operator? This is the fourth increment operator. So now we have to put two curly braces and give in these curly braces. I'm going to print my hello world. So now let's execute and see the output. Now you can see, let's count the number of times hello world has been printed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see that we have printed a hello world in less number of code 10 times. So how does this loop has worked? So first we have initialized the variable I with 0. Then we have run it till the value of I reaches 10. So whenever the I value is less than 10, the loop will execute. And the time when the I value will reach 10, it will see the condition that 10 is not than 10. So it will come out of our loop. So that's why our hello world will be printed from 0 to 9. That is, we can see the value of hello world, it has been printed 10 times. So this is a simple use, a very simple use of for loop. So you came to know that we can use for loop to execute a code in less number of lines or up to a certain condition that we know. Now let's move forward. So this was our for loop. Next we have a while. So where do we use while? So it is used when you want to repeat as long as a condition is true. So let's assume a condition where I want to print something until a specific condition becomes false. I want to repeat a specific code until I have a condition as true. And when that condition reaches to false, I want to come out of the loop. So now let's take that example of it. This is our for loop. Now we will be seeing the example of and. So let's initialize a variable. I equal to b. So I want that still till the value of I is less than 5, I want to print its value, print the value of I. And when the value of I becomes 5, or it becomes 5, it should come out of the loop, and we don't want the value to be printed. So let's execute. So this is a value, and here we will be specifying the condition. So let's specify a condition. While I is less than 5, here I have specified a condition while I is less than 5. So until this condition is true, our while loop will execute. Now we have to put two curly braces. We enter the while loop. Now let's print the value of I. So what is this? Value of I. We'll be printing the value of I. So now here you saw that I have initialized my variable I with 0 and my condition is while I is less than 5. So this condition is currently true. I is 0, which is less than 5. So it will enter the while loop and it will be printing the value of I is 0. Now it will again go to the while loop and again it will check the value of I. So here something is missing. What is missing? Here we have not updated the value of I. So as we saw in for loop, we were doing that only in the for loop structure, where we have mentioned the initialization and condition and updation statement. So here we can do, after executing our code that I want to execute in my file block, at last I will be updating the value of the variable which I am using to run my loop. So now here we can see that I have updated the value of I here. Now let's execute the code and see the output. So now you can see that we are getting the output 0, 5, 0, 1, 2, and 3 and 4. So as soon as the value of I reaches 5, so the condition of while block becomes false and the program runs out of the while loop. So this was all about our while. Now let's talk about do while loop. So do while loop sounds something similar to while loop, but there is a bit of difference between the two loops. So this loop executes at least once before checking a condition. As we saw in while loop, the while loop was first checking condition and then entering the loop. This loop will also work like while, but it also has loop. So it will execute one condition one time. It will execute the code one time at least, and then it will be checking the while condition as you can see in structure. And after checking the conditions, then it will execute the code second time based on the condition. Now let's see a practical example of do while loop. This was the example of while loop. Now we will see the practical example of do while loop. Okay. So let's again take a variable inside the variable. Let's see a similar example that we were doing with our while. So here also I am trying to print the value of 5. Now I will be printing the value of 5. Here, 1, 2, 4, and we will be printing the value of 5. So here I will similarly be increasing the value of 5. Now you can see here it is giving some error. So what are they giving? They're giving while exception because we are writing to while. So here we have to specify while and then the condition. So let's take a simple same condition before while I is less than 5. Now let's execute the code. Okay. You can see that we got the value of 5 as 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. How does that mean? So first, the program enters the loop and it prints the value of I. As we initialize the I variable with 0, so we got the value of I to be 4, then I got implemented to 1. Then while it enters the while condition and checks whether 1 is less than 5 or not. Yes, 1 is less than 5, then it again enters the loop, do loop, and do while loop and print the value of I. And this condition, this loop run until the condition becomes false. When the value of I reaches 5, the condition becomes false, and the program came out of the do while loop. So this is the working of do while loop. So it executes once, at least once, and then it enters the while block, and checks the condition, and then the second time the code runs based on the basis of that condition. So now let's move forward. Now, these were our loops that are available in Java. Now we proceed further with conditional statements. So what are conditional statements? They are like making choices. They let you to decide what you want to execute in your program based on certain conditions. So what are benefits of using conditional statements? So first most benefit is that it helps you make decisions in your code. It helps you create flexible and dynamic programs. It helps you execute different actions based on conditions. So now we'll be learning about our conditional statement. So first we have our if statement. So what is if statement? So think of this as checking condition and deciding whether you do something based on whether the condition is true. So as you can see in structure, we have if and condition. So if our condition is true, the program enters the if block and execute the code present inside this block. So this is our if statement. So let's see example of if statement. Yes, as I have initialized my variable I, now we are seeing example of if statement. Let's see example of if statement. So let's take a value of 3, 5, and 0. And I'm saying that if I is less than 5, execute the statement I is less than 5. So as you can see the output that it enters to a block because the condition of it block was true as I was less than 5. And it printed the value I is less than 5. So this was the working of, this is a simple working of if block. And let's move forward. Next is our if else statement. So what is an if else statement? This is an extension of if. We saw about the working of if in the previous slides. Now, what is if else? It is an extension of if where you have an alternative action if the condition is false. So now let's assume that I have a condition which I have to execute if it is true. But I also have a condition which I have to execute when the condition is false. So here I use if else statement. So if condition is true, it enters the if block. But if the condition specified in the if block is false, it enters into else block and execute the alternative code. So now let's create a practical example of if else statement. So let's say two variables. I want to know that which of the variable is smaller, I is smaller or j is smaller. So for that, I will be using if else block. So let's see. If j is less than I, here I can print j is less than I. Else, I will be printing I is less than j. Now let's see which one is smaller. So as you can see the output, we got the output as I is less than j. So we initialize the variables I will be given then I will be condition j is less than I with this. So if this condition was true, so it will enter the if block. But as you can see that it enters the else block because the condition was false. Because j is not less than I and this is the output here that we got I is less than j. So this is a simple working of if else statement. Now let's move forward. We have our next statement, switch statement. So what is a switch statement? It is another way to handle multiple conditions, but it is a far more bit structured than multiple if-else statements. So think of a condition where you have to take multiple conditions and execute one condition from it. So when you will be using if-else for it, it can be a bit confusing. So for that, we have switch statements. So in switch statement, we specify a switch and here we specify an expression. And on the basis of that expression, the program enters on a specific place, it executes its value, and then you can see we have a break keyword here. What is break? I will tell you about this. Break statement and continuous statement. There are two mainly used statements, that is break statement and continuous statement. So let's first see about break and continue, then I will tell you about switch statement. So let's first see that what is break statement. So now let's how to do this. I'm initializing it with 0 and it will run in the value of 10. And here I want that when my I reaches 5, it should exit the loop. And else here I am printing the value of 5. So let's see what will happen. So here you can see till the value of I reaches 5, it was printing the value here, I will and the point where the value of I reached 5, it first entered this block if I is equal to 5 and it here I have mentioned, here I have wrote a break statement. So this break statement helps me to come out of a loop on the basis of a certain condition. So this is the use of break statements. So we have one more statement, that is continuous statement. So what does continuous statement do? Let's execute. So let's take a similar loop and here I am mentioning a condition. So if I want to is equal to 0, continue. Continue. Else will be value of 5. So what does this loop state? So let's assume a condition. I wanted to print the odd number. So here in this condition, I use the continue statement. So what does this continue statement do? It skips the rest of the current loop iteration and moves to the next iteration. So whenever we got an even number, as when we got the modding even number with 2, we got 0. So it skips the rest of the block and it doesn't went to the front-end statement and it directly goes to the starting point of the loop. So what this continuous statement is very useful as it helps us to skip the rest of the current loop iteration and move to the next iteration. So this is the one example. This is the one use of a continuous statement. So now we have learned about both our state and continuous statements. So now we will be able to understand about switch statement more clearly. Now let's execute that switch statement. So how does the switch statement work? It works simply. So let's specify our switch statement example. So what does switch statement do? Let's specify an expression here and then we will be writing our cases, our different cases. So this is giving in you an error here. Why? We use our expression. So I'm not going to use expression. Let's have an expression here. So let's take a value int I equal to 4. So now pass this. Now let's pass this expression here. Now I have passed this expression. Now I will be using this expression. So let's mention our different cases. So this is the structure of writing a switch block. So I want to print that if it is case 1, then it is Monday, and then you have to break, as then only it will come out of your switch block. Now let's write our second case. Here we say that it is Tuesday. So this is our switch block. Now we will be trying to run our switch. So as you can see, we got the output Thursday. So why we got the output Thursday? As I have inside my variable with 4. And when it enters the switch block, we have passed I here and it directly reaches to page 4 and so we take would get decided and then break out of the switch statement. So this is our switch statement. So there is one more keyword that is using switch statement, that is the default keyword. So let's assume a case when we have passed an expression which doesn't match any of the case within inside the switch block. So how will be coming out of the switch statement? As we have only wrote our break statement inside any of our case. So for that cases, we have a default block. So what does the default block do? Let's see. So let's pass a default block and write here it is weekends. Now let's pass a value which is not present in our system. So I have passed the value 526. I will slide my variable with 6. Now let's see the output. So here we got the output weekend. So why we got the output weekend? We got the output weekend because our value of I didn't match any of the cases present inside our switch statement. So we directly went to the default statement and print the value weekend and then it break out of our switch statement. So this is the use of our switch statement, where we can specify multiple conditions. So thank you everyone for watching this video. We'll meet again in our next video to learn more topics about Java.